Hey everyone, my name is Alex Reynolds. I'm the CEO of Addix, and today I'm going to walk you through an intro to how model space is structured and how to get your hands on the code. So if you've reached this point, chances are you are someone who has already said, hey, I want to sign up for model space. I'm really interested in this. And so I want to make it as easy as possible to get signed up. And so really model space comes in three separate parts. And the idea is that if you put those parts together, you have a really powerful simulation that your organization can use for what you need, and really an entire framework for developing everything within your organization. So those three parts are the public repository that we call modelspace-release, a privately held file that is the actual physical release of model space, and then a license key. And so I'm looking here at the modelspace-release GitHub, and what this is it's a public GitHub that you can use as like a skeleton for how to build out your model space structure. You don't have to use it. You don't have to use Git. You're not forced into it. But what this is supposed to do is to make it really easy to set up the model space simulation within your organization. So you can think of model space release as kind of like the frame of a car. It is everything that you need structure-wise to be able to get everything into place and moving. But it doesn't have the engine, and it doesn't really have anything else, right? So the engine are the actual releases of model space. We put these on Google Drive right now. That's just for ease of use, so that they're right there, ready to go. Model space is released every month. So you'll see 24.04 is our April release, and 24.05 is our May release for 2024. So we churn these out every month on the third Friday, and we just keep them going. And so the idea is that you're always getting new code in your hands. And you can think of this as the sort of the engine to the car. It's something that you drop in, and it gives you the actual power. It is the simulation. And it's designed this way because, well, basically to make it really easy to upgrade to the latest version. So we released 24.06, and you can just drop it in. And it doesn't affect anything about your code. You just have our latest features. And that's something that's really important to us, is that you can really rapidly get your hands on the code. And then the last thing that you need in order to run model space is a license key. And you can think of the license key as the literal key to the car, right? You can have the engine, you can have the car, but you need the license to actually, start the engine and get it going. And so that's what the license key is. That will be provided to everyone separately. So let's look at how do we clone model space? How do we get it downloaded? So I'm going to go into Visual Studio. If you haven't installed Visual Studio, the dependencies essentially to get model space up and running are Visual Studio, Docker, and Git. So here in the window, I'm going to do function F1, and that brings up the command window. So we're going to do dev container, and we're going to clone the repository to a named volume. Cloning into a named volume is something important if you're setting up with Docker, because it allows your sim to run really fast, regardless of whether you have it on Windows, Mac, or Linux. This isn't the only way to build to bring in model space. It is the easiest way, but you can also use virtual machines. You can also run just natively on Ubuntu. So from here, we're going to clone repository and named volume, and we're going to provide our URL. The URL could be what I've pasted here, which is just the public GitHub for model space release. That's enough to get your development container up and running and get you going. We don't recommend that you use that, though, because you can't commit to that, right? So if you're watching this video, the chances are your organization has its own Git that it keeps that needs to be private. It should be a private Git that you can clone instead of this URL when you create your container. Regardless of whether you're cloning model space release or your own, internal project, which again, highly recommended, we'll go ahead and enter that. And then we'll move to the next step. It'll ask us to create a new volume. We'll create a new volume. The name itself doesn't matter. Model space release as the target folder name does matter. So please use the name model space release. We'll hit enter. And then what's going to happen is we're going to start a development container here locally on our machine. So what Docker is it's basically an abstracted operating system, so that you can take an application like model space and you can go run it wherever you want to. So Now I've got my development container up and running. This whole process will take about 15 minutes, but in about 15 minutes, when everything is set up, I should be good to go for, indefinitely, right? So you don't want to sit here and look at this. So I'm going to close the remote connection, and I've already got a version of ModelSpace that is open right here. So we're going to go ahead and open that. So this is what you'll see when you do download your modelspace release. It will be all of this with the exception of the modelspace folder. So the modelspace folder, again, comes from the Google Drive, the actual releases of modelspace. So you drop that in, or your organization may have already dropped that in. From there, you can go run modelspace. So now you're set up, you're ready to go, you've got everything ready to go. And the next video will teach you, where to find things and how to actually run modelspace. So thanks, everyone.